We are back on Inside Politics. Today we're looking at the American flag and a new encyclopedia that's been written about that in terms of its involvement in our history, our culture, and our law with Dr. John Weil from Middle Tennessee State University. Dr. Weil, we talked about the changes in the flags over the years, particularly in terms of stars and stripes and configurations. The current flag that we have, though, is the longest continuous flag, and it's not changed since Hawaii came in, and that's been almost 60 years. That's kind of remarkable that we've had that much stability because we haven't had any states.
Well, that's it. And I think it was, I should go back to my encyclopedia and remember whether it was a 11-ish or 1930s, but before they actually, specified how many rows there would be and how many stars in each one. But once you get over 20, some of these early ones, you have a little bit of room to create. And those who study flags, vexillologists as they're called, that they enjoy the early ones more than the later ones because there's much more variety in them.
One story about the flag that comes directly to Nashville to a person who's actually still buried in the city cemetery here is John Driver, and the origination of the word Old Glory is a nickname for the flag.
It's a great story, especially for Tennessee. Driver had been a Massachusetts sea captain, and he went to sea relatively early, like late teens or early 20s, and the women of the town there, probably some of the girls, designed this flag, which he designated Old Glory, and he took it all around the world in his travels. And then someone in his family died. He moved from Massachusetts, came to Tennessee to sort of take care of his family, and he would display this flag. It was fairly large. He would display it in front of his house on St. Patrick's Day, which, if I recall, was his birthday, George Washington's birthday, and the 4th of July.
And then came the Civil War.
The Civil War came, and he not only was he on the other side, but he had family members on both sides, and probably more on the Confederate side than the Northern. So he had this flag apparently sewn inside of a quilt.
And he called the flag Old Glory. That's where it came from.
He called it Old Glory. And they were Confederates were not able to find where it was, and when the Union Army recaptured Nashville, he offered the flag to fly over the state capitol.
It's an interesting situation too, in that you say in your book that our devotion to the flag is probably unique among nations around the world. All nations have flags, but maybe not as devoted as we are.
There are a couple. If I remember, Denmark actually has this sort of myth that the flag was sent to them directly by God. But you're right. For the most part, our flag, and part of this is in monarchies, if you think about it, even constitutional monarchies, say Great Britain. Whereas I think the flag is the most frequently used symbol on American postage stamps. In England it's going to be the king or the queen. And so some people think, and some people also say the U.S. Constitution has a unique role because of that.
We talk about the devotion to the flag, but it's probably one of the more litigated matters in American history. Looking through your book, there's all kinds of so-and-so versus so-and-so cases and other things going on. Lots of laws out of Congress about it. That makes it a very unique part of American history. It
does, and of course, some of it has to do with people trying to make people fly the flag, particularly during times of war, World War I.
Or respect the flag in just a certain way.
There are a lot of accounts of Germans or Italians being rounded up and told to kiss the flag or display the flag, or who knows what's going to happen to them. But a lot of these came out of there are at least two religious groups. Mennonites, which are connected to Amish, and then Jehovah's Witnesses, who are fear that saluting the flag is a form of idolatry that's forbidden by the Ten Commandments. And so what happened particularly in the 1940s, World War II's coming or already there, and a Jehovah's Witness student refuses to salute the flag, it looks like they're being disloyal, and so they're kicked out of school, and then you have litigation.
Some of the controversies go to just the fact that people, again, want to have the flag done in a certain way. These controversies have dated throughout the entire situation.
They have.
And it seems there's not been a political movement in this country that we haven't had both sides sort of playing an adult game of capture the flag. They want the flag on their side, and they use the flag as a symbol in their protests.
Well, and some people think that one advantage that the Union had actually in the Civil War was actually first they kept the flag, and they kept all the states on there. Some of the abolitionists wanted to take out the southern states, and Lincoln said, no, we've never recognized that they've left. But they also captured the national anthem, which at the time, Francis Scott Key was from Maryland. He had been a slave owner, and ironically, some of his descendants were then pushing Maryland, My Maryland, which was, sort of the hope that Maryland was going to join the southern side, which it never did.
Not to get too deep into the Civil War, but obviously when that started, the South felt like it needed to have a flag. It did. It had a couple different flags. And it also felt like it needed a theme or a national anthem. And I guess
Dixie probably comes as close as you can get. There was something else called the Bonnie Blue flag, but the problem was they didn't have a Bonnie Blue flag. I mean, not that they regularly used it. One of the problems actually in the early part of the Civil War was similar to that in the American Revolution. The first flag that General Washington used that we know of had not stars and bars, the main part of the British flag, he had it in the canton. And when he first put it up, the enemy wasn't sure whether he was surrendering or showing support or not. And in the Civil War, the original version of the stars and bars was so close to the American flag that when you viewed in the fog of war with smoke coming up,
you weren't
and whatever,
sure who you were fighting.
Yes, absolutely. So it didn't quite serve the function.
Dr. John Weil from Middle Tennessee State University is our guest. He's the author of a new book, an encyclopedia on the American flag. Back to continue our conversation with Dr. Weil after this break.